Good evening. Um, Thank you all for coming. We are very delighted to be able to speak in a city that everyone in your life wants to visit once. And we felt incredible warmth from this morning, from our arrival. We received so many warm words, so we are very delighted. And we have 40 nationalities working in our firm, and we have 3 Argentinian architects, which is in a way a kind of majority side if you have 3 nationalities. So what you see today is, of course, partially Argentinian. Although the introduction of OMA, of course, geared towards REM's achievement, OMA evolved, and I will speak today as an individual rather than a part of OMA. I'm Japanese, as it was introduced. This is showing the annual loss of dwellings in Japan, which is often caused by natural disasters. So, as you know, there was a big disaster right now. It has been going on for a while. This was in 2023. This much people died in Tokyo area. And not to mention the war period. It was heavily bombed, so that was part of the destruction of Tokyo and cities in Japan in general. So in our memory, in our genetics, this kind of scene is actually embedded within our heart. As you know, Godzilla, you think that's just a science fiction, but this is, for Japanese, it's a representation of unreasonable destruction. So Japanese architecture, avant-garde, used to be, or still to be, always something against this unreasonable disasters, very anti-gravity, or something that it constantly changes, a metabolism, because the building always get distracted and rebuilt. This is a recent kind of avant-garde. It's always unstable because of the anti-earthquake. You have to basically build a building that is very robust. So architects tend to do something opposite as an avant-garde. Also very thin and light. That's also very difficult to achieve in earthquake zones. So that's why the avant-garde becomes something the opposite. I just show you a couple of images what happened, just as a kind of a memory of it. Basically, the anti-earthquake law in Japan is quite firm. So a lot of buildings actually survived the earthquake, but what caused the most damage was the tsunami. You would never see this kind of fire and the water together. Is it possible to turn off the light, or is it, do you see well? Yeah? Okay. This was a car shipment. You can see the kind of merger of the sea and the city. And this one even looks almost like a film set. And you never see such amount of debris in one place. This was the biggest earthquake that happened in Japan in terms of magnitude. So the natural disasters, we always try to tackle it in a very different point of view. So economically, this was the loss. This is the current loss. it's projected loss. So it's economic loss in the entire history of the world, this disaster so far. And what that means is that it's bigger than the entire the budget of Iraqi war. Kind of close to the big three, how to say, bankruptcy in America. So we tend to kind of look at the architecture and all the kind of globalization in a economical manner, because currently we are kind of governed by the market economy. This is Japanese growth, GDP growth rate from this 60s to current. So you can see in 60 to 73, there was a steady growth of 9%. And then after that, it became 3%. And after that, 1%. So like 3 gigantic steps. This is superimposing my own life. So I was born when the first oil crisis happened here. And then I studied hard to get into good university in order to have a better lifestyle. But it was completely destroyed by this economic bubble burst. And then when I became a partner, the growth went to minus. So in a way, I'm actually doomed to live with a downturn. And that's why I started to think of the potential of the downturn, rather. I just had to be positive. So it's a zoom in of after 9/11 till current. You can see the ups and downs really wild of Japan, EU, USA, and China, and how dominant China is, which is the top. This is projecting Argentina and Chile. Actually, Argentina disappears. I'm sorry, but our format was already set up. So, but my point is that we live in the same world that is kind of ruled by the economical disasters as well as natural disasters. I want to talk about the relationship of the architecture and economy. So this was a building in 60s in Japan. It has a full of hope, it has a full of edge, it has a full of cantilevers. It's very optimistic. This is the mainstream Japanese architecture now. No corner, no edge, just white and no sense of gravity, which I call Muji architecture. Muji is a brand, a Japanese brand that takes away the brand logo successfully and sells house and appliances, which is considered as a very Japanese product in the world market. But in my opinion, this can only happen through 20 years or let's say 25 years of recession. It's a reductivism that is caused by a long-lasting recession. This is the most representative image of Muji product. It's a 6 shades of gray of Rubik cubes, which basically the point of Rubik cube is about this kind of distinctive colors. But the reductivism went so far that you have to kind of look at 6 shades of gray to make this work. After the crisis, architects are one of the hardest hit. In New York, still the architects' unemployment rate is very high, about 30%. So I conducted, with all these negative issues, I conducted the research at Harvard about what the post-crisis means. And in short, I will say this. These are the economic indicators when it goes down, but it actually has an inverse relationship to a kind of human indexes. So when there's a recession, in reverse to a downturn of the graph, the people's thinking, feeling, and connecting goes up.